or to step down. And so I retired or left on my own volition at 57. So I am now on the other side of the coin, looking for employment. Where previously in my 30 years at JP Morgan, I was a hiring manager in a variety of different hiring manager roles. So it's really interesting to be on both sides of the equation, or the coin. As Elizabeth and Tiffany talked to me about this topic, they both said, you know, Jill, you've been the hiring manager interviewing a wide range of personalities and qualifications, and now you're living it, which I never thought I would be. So we think you're the perfect speaker. And I said, I'm willing to give it a shot, but I would love conversation. I would love Michelle, Linda, and Nadia, and Tiffany, and Elizabeth to sort of contribute to this discussion, because it's a lot more fun than just me talking. So that's kind of my intro to why I'm here with you tonight. So this is an interesting topic, because as the hiring manager, and I managed people for 25 years, when I would look at resumes and chat with individuals that were applying for roles, I definitely focused on their experience, how they communicated, what their interests were. And it was worrisome to me when I had individuals that applied that seemed like that they had done this job previously, or they, and maybe had done it years earlier, or it didn't seem like it was a fit because their qualifications and their resume said one thing, but they were pursuing this role. So some things just didn't add up. And then naturally, as the interviewer, you go through looking at the resume, you look at and try to have discussions about experience and salary, and you try to peel away at the onion. Why is this person interested in this role that they seem to be overqualified for? And that's where the interviewee, i.e. me now, needs to do my part in communicating why, because I'm the interviewee now, why I'm interested in this role. So I have to really understand that while my resume said something, I need to be able to articulate why I'm interested in this role. So you want to go to the next one? Okay. So I just covered this when I was talking with folks that seemed to be overqualified, because I had these assumptions in my head. I'm reading a piece of paper and I'm talking to someone, often not in person, often over the phone or even Skype or something like this. And so it is incumbent upon the interviewee, i.e. all of you, and now me in this role, to talk about why the role is appealing. Are you switching industries? Are you relocating? Is there, in my case, I have an example of there are 2 companies that I'm targeting right now. And so I did a fair amount of research on both of them so I could understand, what their priorities were, if I could get a feel for sort of their corporate culture. And one is a company called Salesforce, which is based, it has a large presence in Indianapolis. And then another one is actually a company in the financial services. But I had my reasons, an ability to sell to them, or not sell, but articulate and really being authentic and just being yourself. So I'll give you some examples. So with Salesforce, again, I spent 30 years with a financial services company, but we rolled out Salesforce, which is a technology platform, in my company. So I had experience with that, and it was very interesting to me. And I did a lot of new and different things in in implementing Salesforce at JP Morgan Chase. And so I got kind of a little bit, I kind of got a little taste for technology. And so I started researching Salesforce. And then I tried to make connections within the company and tried to articulate why I was interested in. I mean, most companies, if you research them, you can find some really interesting things about them, or some things that where they may be struggling, and maybe you could fill a gap. But for me, Salesforce was something that I had been exposed to and really wanted to do something different. And I was able to, and this is going to take us to another topic, I was able to actually have several interviews with the hiring manager, who was very convinced that I was overqualified. Matter of fact, she was very convinced that I was more qualified to do her job than she was. So for me, in that case, I had to develop rapport with the interviewer. I wanted to hear about her story, hear her talk about, her experience at the firm, just really develop rapport, and be sort of authentic, and kind of, I don't want to say laid back, but not high strung about why I wanted to be at this company right now. I kind of throttled it back, and I let her talk about herself and the company. And I asked her a lot of questions. And I was thinking about this before we started the call, that I could maybe as part of the package we send out, I could share a number of questions that I ask interviewers about the company, and it sort of kind of softened things, sort of warmed them up to me. If that,
as a hiring manager, what do you like to hear? Like, what kind of questions from those that you interviewed?
I'd like to know that they've done some homework about the company that they're interviewing with. So as much as they can. I mean, some companies are, there's not a lot of information available, but the internet is so powerful now. I think about the internet, and when I interviewed, 35 years ago for my first job, there was no internet. And now you can find all kinds of things, news articles, all kinds of things. So as, spending an hour, especially if you're going to have an interview, spending 30 minutes to an hour researching the company that you're pursuing. So you can sort of bring out, and again, I can give examples of this to Tiffany and Elizabeth that can be in this package. Bring out, you want them to know that you've done some due diligence.
So that value you can add to the firm, and what, like, the different projects they're doing, or
right,
take them in the direction they want to go.
Yeah, or if they've been on the news, or something that lets them, a few nuggets that let them know that you just haven't shown up to this interview to talk about you. You've shown up to learn more about the company, to learn more, to really have a dialogue with the interviewer. So, I mean, I'll pause.
I think that kind of lets into the don'ts.
Okay. So should we pause? Anybody have any thoughts on this? Is this making sense? Am I going too fast? Okay.
No, you're sounding good.
Okay. Yeah, please just jump in, because I miss doing this. I did this for a lot of years. I was able to really spend a lot of time with really our junior talent at the firm I left in conversations like this. And I learned so much from what they were encountering and what was on their mind. Because you ladies are gonna think about things, and I would like to know what those are. So we just have a couple things up on the screen now. And these are sort of, I mean, I'm not going to read them, but it being aware of the fact that you might have experience, or more, you may be overqualified, but that's not something you want to talk about. I mean, so really and I have to keep my attitude in check. I really do. I have to have a good talk with myself before I get on these calls, these interviews, because the job market is sort of kind of wonky right now with COVID. I mean, this, this COVID-19 is, nobody's, immune from it. The whole world is caught up in this and will be for some time. So the job market's a little bit different right now. So just sort of, I try to put myself in the interviewer's shoes and think, what would they want to hear from me? How can I connect with them? How can I be authentic and real and not kind of, sickening sweet or not myself. So I think when you get them to talk about what they're doing at the company, what one of the questions I ask them, what are you looking for in an applicant? What are you looking for? How would describe the first several months of the role to me? How does that role look like, even in the first several weeks? And generally, interviewing managers that are doing the interviewing are always willing to talk and tell you kind of what's on their mind. So getting them to talk will kind of let you pick your spots on when you want to interject and say, oh, I think I could help with this, or I have some thoughts on this. If so I don't know if I have any other.
How do you recommend talking to the hiring managers about what their needs really are? Because I find it's hard for them to open up about what they really need in the role and why they're looking for somebody.
So you've obviously, Michelle, you've seen you've found a posting, right? And you've looked at it, or so give me, I'm trying to think of a good way to answer this. So they're giving you limited information about what they're looking for. Is that what you're seeing in the role? Or when you say, I guess I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to approach this. With the role that you have pursued or are pursuing, how are they describing the role, and how did you know you were interested in it? Was it something on paper? Was it something you read on the internet? Tell me how you found this opportunity.
Oh, that's really varied from,
okay.
Yeah.
I think what I would do, if you know what the role is, I would spend some time trying to find like roles on the internet. And we can talk about an industry or a company or whatever, but I think you're going to have a basic understanding of what the role is, and then use that basic understanding to say, this is, these are in doing my homework, in doing my due diligence. When they hear words like that, homework, due diligence, research, your company is a company I'm targeting because of X, Y, and Z. So for example, Salesforce, I'm targeting Salesforce because I like their culture. I like their progressiveness. I like there's a number of things I like about the company. So if you can sort of point out maybe things about the job that you have done your homework on, and then things about the understanding that the company's only publishing a certain amount of information about it if they're looking for applicants. But you've got to get the interviewer talking, Michelle. You've got to get her or him talking. So if that's, tell me about it. Tell me about your typical day. And how would this role interact with your role? I will give Elizabeth and Tiffany a number of questions, because that is an excellent point. You do have to make the connection, and if they're not very forthcoming, that's a little bit kind of unsettling. So have you experienced something like that, Michelle? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Did we lose her?
No, it just seems like they don't go into much depth. I think the postings that I've seen, most of them, they're pretty generic. So to get beyond that, superficial level is a little bit difficult. You know, I've asked people before, like managers and even coworkers actually, but you know, managers about a day in the life kind of thing, and they just don't really want to talk about it. And if I ask questions about the role and trying to get, you know, a little deeper, they just are very superficial and on the surface.
I'm not, yeah, it's really hard to combat that. So that would maybe be your first discussion when you've applied for the role, and then that's hard to, I think, overcome.
How would you approach it?
I would try to connect with the person. I would try to put them at ease. I would say, again, you're trying to warm them up. So what have you learned about the company? Demonstrating that you have done some homework, some due diligence. So, and why are they working at the company? What keeps them there? You know, how is the day in their life? Ask them to describe how their day is, if they're willing to. Sometimes interviewers are very transactional and they just want to plow through it, and that's going to be difficult. There's just not going to be a one size fits all to get around somebody like that. But I understand what you're saying. I think you just have to be you, Michelle. You have to be you. Demonstrate that you've done your homework. If you can Google the position just on the internet and anything you can find, would the position be doing things like this? In doing my research, I've seen X, but sometimes the interviewers can just be very non-committal and transactional, and there's not an easy way around that. That could give you a little glimpse inside the company too,
Sure, absolutely.
Linda or Nadia, anything from either one of you?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to talk about resume.
Okay, I was muted.
Oh, Linda.
I muted myself.
You did. Well, good. I'm glad you unmuted. Any thoughts? Am I leaving? Are there things that I'm saying that aren't resonating? Or are there things, I wish I had a better answer for Michelle's question, but sometimes people, when they're interviewing you, an interviewer will not warm up.
Yeah.
That's been my experience. I'm a lot older probably than everybody here. And Michelle, my experience has always been where they're plugging in at me, trying to get information, or these so-called prepared questions to ask me, which can make you feel uncomfortable. So, and you can kind of try to warm up to them, but their surface, they're like the way you were talking. I wish at some point in my life I had ran across somebody like you. Just to talk to you about the job and, really get a feel and tell them what I've discovered. So I don't know.
Yeah, it is a tough one. I will tell you, often people that are hiring, or if they're doing the interviewing, they themselves, they are not comfortable doing what they've been asked to do. They need to follow a script, or they've got, maybe HR's given them something, but they themselves are not comfortable interviewing. So they're following a script.
That makes sense.
And that's a tough one too. I mean, I actually had, I had someone recently that I chatted with, and I could tell was very uncomfortable. Generally, people that are following a script are nervous. They just, they just have their checklist or the questions. They just want to get through it. And it makes it hard on the interviewee, all of us. It does. And I'm not sure you can combat that. but the good thing about it is the more you when you are in uncomfortable situations like that, that's not a waste of your time at all. And I've told my daughters that when you're feeling uncomfortable and you're with somebody that you can't sort of move the conversation along or learn more or feel like you're getting anywhere, it's still really good experience. And it will help you as a professional know that, that's not a way you want to communicate. So, Linda, any other thoughts? Those were good. Good question, Michelle.
Thank you.
So let's stay on this one. So I won't read all they can see all this, right?
And
Okay.
the sources.
Yeah, these are good.
Okay.
The
Okay.
slide's good.
Okay. So should we move? Yeah, we can keep going. Yeah, so these are the questions that when we started this conversation a little while ago, when I was the hiring manager, these are the exact questions that were in my head. And so I really needed for the interviewee to answer these for me in an authentic way, in an honest way. So, and really thinking about it before you get on the phone with an interviewer, having a bunch of different bullets or some way to make yourself feel comfortable. So for example, for me, I'll give you another example. As I'm interviewing with another financial services company that's based in Indiana, I have had a very nice discussion with the head of HR where I've been just very honest with her. What I told you about myself after 30 years with JP Morgan and a wonderful career, I want to do something else. I don't want to relocate. So I've taken some time to target some companies, and this particular company is Indiana based. So no relocation is required, and they're very dedicated to the state of Indiana. And from what I can tell, they have a very vibrant corporate culture, and they're not a huge company like JP Morgan that has 300,000 employees. I don't even think they have 10,000. So having experienced one side of the equation with JP Morgan, kind of while I'm still walking on this earth, I'd like to experience the other side. So I'd like to do something new. I'd like to do something new. And having worked for 30 years with one company, I've kind of proven I'm self-motivated. So learning something new with a new company, and it's not a new industry, but a new company, and that I love to do new and different things. So I was able to sort of have that conversation. These were not surprise questions to me when they were asked of me last week when I had this discussion. So you guys really should think about these questions and have some more than general thoughts about how you would answer. So, and the person at Salesforce, so I'm going back to my first example the company, the hiring manager said, Jill, you're overqualified for my job. And I said to her, I said, Kelly, I appreciate what you're saying. I really do. But my goal is to find something that where I'm not managing people, and she's managed, where I'm not traveling, and she is. So I tried to sort of point out the things that she's doing that are really appealing to her. But I'm making a change in my life, and I said, and I want to support you with the energy and the skills, and let you do some of the heavier lifting that I've done previously. And so it was a natural conversation that sort of evolved, but I really had to feel her out on, and that was her, for that particular interview, question number 3 was a big deal to her. The other company, the financial services company, she was more, the HR person was much more focused about question number 1. So these 3 questions or we really should take some time to think about these, and we can have a dialogue about them right now if you'd like. No? Okay. Yeah, this is a tough one. Avoid the overqualified label. I had to really have a talk with myself about that. And again, having a good, honest statement about why you're applying for the position that seems beneath you. If you don't have that down and you don't believe it, the interviewer is going to see it. And so, and then we talked about researching the jobs. And again, you can't always find a lot, but you maybe could find jobs at other companies that may be like this one. And I'm going to give that some thought based on when Michelle asked me that question about how, when you're trying to engage the interviewer and they just won't engage. So Michelle, I'm going to give that some more thought and give you some more meat around that bone.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think the fourth thing, openness and flexibility about learning new things. Companies are all about that, being flexible and collaborative, and I think if there is a point where you can sort of convey that's I mean, all of these are important. And then the whole reference thing is always really solid if you have them. If you have them, but I would say if you don't, then really when you have a cooperative interviewer, developing that rapport, and then really sending a very solid, and I can give Elizabeth and Tiffany really solid follow-up note that really speaks to the things you discussed with the interviewer. So any thoughts on slide? Any questions? Okay.
Well, I have something.
Oh, please, yes.
Okay, for me, I'm not really looking for a career, but I'm still able to work, which at this particular time, I do need some type of job, but I would like to find something of interest.
Mhm.
And right now, from what I've been able to see, there's nothing that's really out there at this time to really draw my interest.
Mhm.
And if I was to apply for it, it would be just because I need the money.
Right.
So.
And Linda, that makes total sense. This time of the year, the November, December time period. Well, first we have COVID, which, you know, we all don't have words for that or answers for that. But November and December are a bit of a challenging time for many companies. They will, because they're tied to the calendar year. So you will find, and I've talked to a number of small companies and large companies. They've already submitted their budgets for 2021. So I will say that this month and next month are a bit of a challenge in terms of companies hiring. They generally don't bring new employees on at the tail end of a year. Mm-hmm. So then those jobs that may be of interest to you, Linda, have not been put out yet. Mm-hmm. Have not been put out because they don't want to manage the inflow of resumes or activity around the job till they're willing to hire for it. Mm-hmm. So I mean that, and I'm with you because I would like to find. So I don't know. Maybe we could, if we have time, what is there a particular industry you're interested in, or what are the things you use the word, passionate about, or what kind of things interest you?
Ooh. Well, right now, the things that I'm passionate about are with people, mm-hmm. which the social distancing and all that, I can't really go
Right.
down that road.
Right.
But I love being helping and being advocates for seniors.
Mm.
Um, I did have experience in robotics. And then I like kids.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of like all over the place.
No, you're like everybody else, and I'm right there with. So when you say you like to advocate for seniors, that makes my heart happy. What companies would you what companies or organizations would you that fall in that bucket that would employ someone that would advocate? What companies would those be? I would have a list of those, Linda. I mean, what
I would have to make, whew,
that
I wouldn't even know how to go and find.
so you
I'm
would
not,
search.
I'm one of those what you call born before technology,
I don't believe
a
it. Don't
BBT.
sound like it.
And there's a lot of things as far, I love researching. Oh, I love researching. But to find the area where I need to go to research, well, just like what you're talking about, the only thing I know, I can Google and it'll bring up things, and I'm going like, that's, I need another avenue.
Okay, so just so simply putting in what organizations in Indiana advocate for seniors? Is that something you've tried? I'm going to try that on your behalf.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Elizabeth's going to do it. We're going to do it live. That and what yeah, and it could be a not-for-profit like Dress for Success. It could be a state agency. I know the state of Indiana has a massive department on seniors and aging, and so the state of Indiana, the city of Indianapolis. So maybe that might be a fun project for me to take that on, research what I can find for Linda, how I found it, and that could be part of the package. I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
So advocate for seniors, robotics. Michelle, anything you want me to research, or that's not something that's not where you're kind of going?
No, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Any go ahead.
Yeah, I have a background in design, but I'm trying to transition out of that.
Okay. Move from design to
I'm not sure.
Is
Yeah.
that interior design when you say design?
No, I did landscape design, or I have a degree in landscape design, and I worked in that industry. Worked in that industry for I don't know, 6 years, various aspects, and then I made a career move. I went to get my master's degree in adult and community education with an ed psych minor.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find something that is not landscape,
Right.
but I can use some of those, skills, like instructional design or.
Well, you've got to have a creative mind if you did that, and that skill set.
No, that's the thing. I don't. That's the point. I want out of all of that. So I'm not looking for creative.
Understand, but that's a skill that can. So what was the graduate degree in? Tell me that again.
Adult and community education for public service, and a minor in ed psych.
Okay.
Educational psychology.
Okay. So again, a couple of things that come to mind on that one are I know the United Way is huge into this because I've been on a number of different committees and boards for the United Way. But I'll take both of these. I'll come back to both. Well, I'll come back to everybody with my research and what I used in the companies that I've targeted.
That would be so amazing. You're like an angel, I swear.
No, it's kind of like it's like a puzzle to me. Absolutely.
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Any other thoughts or ideas or anything that is on your mind?
I'm Nadia. As Linda, I'm not interested in a career, and I'm out of the market for more than 8 years. So I never work in US, and I'm looking for something that gives me joy and kind of relax is the right word. So my background is completely different compared what I'm looking for, and I'm interested in working with old people, and I'm not qualified for that. So the question for you is, do I need to look for some school before to apply, or maybe I can try to have an interview and tell them, I mean, show my resume, my experience? Do I need to modify my resume? Do I need to change something?
So I think, I mean, I'm happy to look at your resume. It's hard to know. So have you applied for any jobs at all at this point, or not yet?
No, I never applied. I never had an interview in US, so I'm completely new on everything. And my goal is just to work as a part-time job. And again, I'm not interested in any career.
Okay. So again, I don't know if you have access to a computer or to the internet. So really, it's the same thing. Googling, you know, what are the opportunities, and we can do Nadia too. What are the part-time opportunities to work with senior citizens?
Okay, and the question is,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupt you.
No,
Since I don't have any experience other than in the last year, I took classes to Alzheimer organized at IU University. I discovered the passion to help people. So, but again, I don't have any expertise. I'm new, let's call it this way. So do you think before to apply is better if I take some classes, or I go to some college or something like that?
It's a fair question. I think part-time roles are maybe easier to locate than full-time roles. Working with senior citizens, I mean, I can tell by your voice that that this is a meaningful, you know, topic. When you talked about it, you said I've discovered that I really enjoy it. So I'm not sure that taking classes is something you need to do. I what we would probably need to do is understand what a part-time role working with seniors citizens or what does that job description look like? You know, what are they looking for? Then you can determine if you need to get some advanced training or support.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, do you want to?
I don't know what did.
Yeah, so I think really finding some sort of anything that's published right now, any company that's looking.
Do you want to share your email?
Yeah, just to understand what I'm looking for, and then from there I can plan something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'll do some research on that one too, Nadia.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Absolutely. So do you want me to tell them my email, or you're okay? Elizabeth's gonna give my email to all of you.
Okay.
And we can, you know, I'm happy to continue the conversation with each of you. We can, and I'm going to follow up with all three, with Linda, with Nadia, and wait a minute, I lost somebody, with Michelle. So, and then, you know, I'd love to continue the dialogue. I enjoy, there were not, when I was young in my career, there were not organizations like Dress for Success there that I was aware of. And so having a conversation with all of you like we are tonight, it's just so inspiring. And I'm thrilled to be here and hear sort of, we're all sort of kind of living in this COVID environment. That's very interesting. And I would like to use I wanted to say difficult, but well, I just did. So, but it is. Anything else, Elizabeth or Tiffany? Happy to talk about anything else if anybody else has any questions or.
Yeah, I don't have anything. If anybody else wants to chime in, you're more than welcome to. I'll send out the PowerPoint and I'll include Jill on the email tomorrow as well when you guys get it. So if anybody doesn't feel comfortable sharing their questions or stories with everyone, they can email Jill if she's okay with that one-on-one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Does anybody have any questions before I let you guys go?
No, Tiffany, thank you. This was great.
Awesome. Thanks for interacting, everybody. I appreciate it. And I'll send that email tomorrow morning when I get in, and I'll include Jill on it.
Okay.
Thanks for
Thank you.
joining.
Say bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.